Mask of the Lunar Eclipse was first launched in 2008 for the Wii and has been remastered for the Switch, with updated visuals. The game revolves around four protagonists who explore the desolate Rujetsu Island, three of whom are former inhabitants who return after multiple deaths, force them to confront their pasts and solve the mystery of the island. The fourth protagonist is a detective who had previously investigated a series of murders on the island, and now returns with his flashlight to take on a multitude of creepy ghosts. The game's overarching narrative is intriguing and one of the game's more interesting aspects. Players can explore various environments, where they will find copious notebooks, diaries, pamphlets, and drawings that serve to flesh out the mystery. Much of the game's finer details are found within optional environmental cues, so players who prefer to simply blast through the main objectives may miss out on a lot of these details. The game's core gameplay feels like a classic survival horror game, where players move through rooms and corridors at a slow pace, shine their flashlight into every nook and cranny in the hope of finding hidden items, and solve puzzles to gain access to new pathways. Hostile ghosts frequently present themselves, and players need to use the franchise's iconic camera obscura to dispatch them. While the controls are functional, they can feel unnecessarily fiddly, even for a survival horror game. The camera won't follow the player unless they start running, which can be problematic when trying to navigate out of the way of an encroaching ghost or quickly catch a wandering specter before it disappears. Players can use the right analog stick, the Switch's gyro aiming, or a combination of both to move the camera around while in the first-person perspective. The game's ghost encounters, while visually creepy, appear too frequently, and the arcade-like gameplay required to defeat them lessens their impact. A light at the top of the screen pops up to indicate what kind of ghost is in the vicinity along with where they are oriented in relation to the player, so there is practically no element of surprise. Once players spot the ghost, they need to whip out the camera with a quick X tap, shifting the perspective from third person to first person. Then, they need to keep the ghost in the center of their viewfinder and quickly take its picture to deal damage. Players can mix up the core combat by waiting until a ghost is just about to strike before taking its picture, executing a perfect fatal frame attack, dealing additional damage, and allowing them to string together combos. They can also upgrade and add-ons to the camera, allowing for more powerful shots, the ability to dodge incoming attacks, and more. Players can snap ghosts on the fly, known as specters, which hang around for brief moments before vanishing into thin air. Players need to be quick to take their picture, but successfully doing so will grant them points. They can spend these points at save stations found within the game, exchanging them for healing items, camera equipment, or even additional costumes. Players can also view exactly which ghosts they have revealed in the in-game menu, along with records of all narrative logs found on their travels. In terms of visuals, Mask of the Lunar Eclipse has had a significant upgrade over the original Wii version, boasting more realistic character models and sharper environmental detail. However, the game still very much feels like a 15-year-old game, one that may not have the added benefit of nostalgia to soften its aging. The sound design is decent, with plenty of eerie noises and haunting music to set the mood, but there are times when the sound effects can be a bit over the top and distracting. In conclusion, Mask of the Lunar Eclipse has received a considerable visual upgrade. It still retains its classic survival horror gameplay mechanics that may feel outdated. The game's intriguing narrative and engaging gameplay mechanics make it a worthwhile experience for survival horror fans. But its frequent ghost encounters may be less scary for some players due to their almost arcade-like gameplay required to defeat them. The game's sound design is decent, but at times can be a bit over the top and distracting. So that's it for today's review, and I hope it was informative for you. Please consider subscribing to the channel, it will really help. I'll see you next time. Take care.